Hello, my friends and gems. Welcome to the Zoom info Q&A. Who have we got here? We got Carol, and we're matching in blue.
Yeah.
And we got...
Is Donna on?
I don't know. We have somebody connecting on iPhone 4. It says connecting to audio, so we'll see once it connects.
I just talked to her. She was going to get on.
That might be her. So let's see. I'll ask her to unmute.
There's somebody on here.
Hello. It looks like our audio is connected. iPhone 4.
Works. All right.
Who is this?
This is Steve and Sarah.
Steve and Sarah.
Yeah.
Steve and
Sarah. Connected. Hi.
Steve and Sarah, fantastic. All righty. So let's get started here. Let's go ahead and talk about our information question and answer session. Carol, do you want to, Carol, since Stephen and Sarah haven't heard, by chance, do you want to share with them your story about AFib and your shingles when you started on the patches, how 18 months before? Share a little bit about what happened with you and kind of bring them into where you are. It's been, I think we're now in our 5th week of you wearing the patches.
My gosh, time goes by fast when you're out shoveling. Now I can do everything. Before I got down to, normally weigh 110 pounds. When my husband passed away a year and a half ago, I got down to 84 pounds taking care of him. And that caused my heart, I'll use the word, I had a broken heart. And the results of that was atrial fib. And my cardiologist, which I'd never had before, but cardiologists have identified it as atrial fibrillation. So that was going on. And then a friend introduced me to the patches. And at that point, I couldn't do much of anything. And yet I'm a very active person. So when she told me about these patches, it made sense to me because I'm familiar with stem cells. And I thought, well, I have nothing to lose. I don't have to go anywhere. Just put them on at home. And I got the patches. I got 4 of them and put them on accordingly. And within minutes, I was feeling better right away. Because when you have atrial fib, it was all over the place. My heart was over 100. It was up and down everywhere all the time and just like pounding. And that started subsiding right away. And now it's gone. So with that, and I'm on the patches. I've gained my weight back. I've been able to get out and do things. I'm able to, I can use a chainsaw. I couldn't for a while there, for quite a while. So I'm getting back in gear just because of the patches, because I understand. And thank goodness Lillian has these calls because she describes the stem cells and what we have going on in our body. And I understand it. It makes absolute sense to me. So my stem cells are waking up. And I even had some memories of when I was a cheerleader. I'm 83, but I was a cheerleader in high school. I mean, clear. I can still jump that high. The patches got me going.
Yeah, so you're definitely more animated than when you started. And I think you started wearing the patches on August 8th, which was a Tuesday. So this upcoming Tuesday will be your 7th week on the patches. And share with them also after your 2 weeks of wearing, full 2 weeks of wearing the patches, that following Monday, which was right as you were starting your 3rd week, you met with your general practitioner on Monday and with your cardiologist on Friday.
I did. My general practitioner, I don't go to doctors. So when I say general practitioner, I have to learn the word. But because I'm a caregiver, I take care of people and take them to the doctor. But she told me, I told her about what I was doing. She was very interested because she could see that I physically was getting better. And so I related
the wipers off. Do you need them on?
And then my cardiologist, I told him, and he even put it on my chart when he put the follow-up of what he talked about and found in me at the time. And he mentioned, because I was smart and mentioned stem cell first, because that gets a doctor's brain open. And I mentioned that about the stem cell activation patches, that I really like them, and my heart is better. Notice, and he did, and he acknowledged that on my
Your chart.
printout. Yeah, my chart. So, yeah.
So both physicians confirmed that you no longer had atrial fibrillation, where your cardiologist was recommending in November to put an atrial fibrillator in your chest, right?
Yes. And he got all excited. And so I haven't canceled that appointment in November, but before that, we're going to do an echocardiogram on me to see what's going on, and then we can cancel it all.
Now I can cancel it, yeah.
Yeah.
So he documented, so both two doctors confirmed, general practitioner and your cardiologist, your pulse has gone from 100 to 70. It's back to normal. You no longer have atrial fibrillation. The cardiac events are absent now from your experience, and you're normal.
Yeah, and my shingles have subsided. The pain there's a little bit of itchiness now, but that pain is gone. The pain, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that itchiness, because some people are not aware what that is actually, what's going on if you're experiencing itchiness in certain parts of the body where you have damage. When you have itchiness, oftentimes as your nerves are, if you have nerves that are damaged, and your nerve kind of looks like your hand, where you have, this is like the axonal, this is the stem. You have the axon, which is the brain, basically the nucleus of the nerve. And then you have the filaments that are what connect from one nerve to the other. So the electrical pulse can go from this nerve to that nerve and, signal the body. So when you have nerve damage, you have, sometimes it's fraying of the nerves, where the nerves don't all make the complete connection, or you may have a complete damage where all the dendrites are missing. There's varying degrees, of course. And then there's also nerves that start, they start to fold up, or they start to crinkle up. Crinkle being a technical term. So as those nerves start to grow back and they start to unfold and they start to unravel themselves, you can kind of think of it as like if you had cellophane paper and you were to crinkle it up, and it goes all crinkle, 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 crunch, crunch, crunch. And as you stretch it out, it uncrinkles itself. Same thing is happening with your nerves as it's growing back and as they're unfolding and starting to reestablish themselves. Sometimes that can manifest in either a tingling sensation. For some people, it could be an itchy sensation. It just depends on the person. Everybody is different. You may have times of tingling and times of itchiness, or maybe you just have itchiness. But that is a signal to you that there's energy moving in that area. And so that's why she has a little bit of itchiness on her top right-hand side, because those nerves are starting to grow back in. Your scalp, you expressed in the first week that your scalp, in the first 24 hours, as I recall, you said, oh my gosh, I had such a tight scalp, and now it's relaxed. What a relief.
Oh, definitely a big relief from all of that.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. So let's go on and let's talk about the stem cell activation patches, what they are, how they work, all that kind of good stuff. So I'm going to share with you my screen here.
Is Donna on?
Okay, so here we are. This is loaded now. So we're going to start off by saying, first of all, we have to, these are FDA compliant class 1 medical devices under the general wellness category. And so we do have to share with you the disclaimer that the patches are not intended to treat, prevent, or cure any disease, because we do not heal, cure, treat, or diagnose, nor do we offer any protocols. The suggestions do not replace the diagnosis and treatment by a qualified licensed healthcare professional. That would be your doctor. And we strongly recommend you consult with your doctor concerning your specific health challenge and treatment needed. No medical claims are being made with the suggestions here. At no point in time will you hear me say that the stem cell activation patches heal, cure XYZ condition or XYZ disease or XYZ syndrome, or XYZ diagnosis. These are general wellness patches. They're in the general wellness category. There's no prescription that's required. The stem cell activation patches and stem cells themselves, they work on the different systems of the body. So they work systemically. And so the thing to know about stem cells is that stem cells are pluripotent. So pluripotent, a lot of people have never heard the word pluripotent before, but let's break it down. Pluri means plural, which is as opposed to singular. So instead of just one, plural means many. Potent means potentials. So when something is pluripotent, that means that it has many potentials. That's all it means. So if you look here, and I do apologize for those of you who are on your cell phone, because it must be the size of a postage stamp on a cell phone. But this is a little diagram to indicate to you that stem cells, because of their pluripotent nature, as you're aware and you realize and recognize, they have the ability to create any kind of cell that you need in real time. So this diagram shows you that stem cell can create a fat cell, a red blood platelet cell. It can create a neuron, a stomach cell, any kind of cell that you need in real time. So the thing to notice is that when you were in fact an embryo, before you were an embryo, when your mother's ovum united with your father's sperm at conception, you now have complete information to the tune of 23,688 stem cells in your body. It's a lot of stem cells. Prior to that, the information was incomplete. The ovum couldn't create a life by itself. The sperm couldn't do that on its own. But upon conception, now you have complete information. Now we can form you in your mother's womb, and that rapid cell multiplication where your stem cells are like, oh, we got to create the heart, we got to create the nervous system, we got to create fingers, toes, head, eyes, ears, eyelashes, hair, you name it, right? Fast forward to 36 to 40 weeks later. And now at 30 to 46 weeks, guess what? 36 to 40 weeks, now you have that little embryo has grown into a little fetus. And then at 36 to 40 weeks, somewhere in there, thereabouts, you become a newborn baby. Now, from a newborn baby, those stem cells has all of your programming to create everything you need to keep you happy and healthy, right? Fast forward to 30 years of age. When you're 30 years old, 50% of your stem cells turn off. That's right. When you're just 30 years old, you've just had about a decade to 12 years of being used to having an adult body, and boom, 50% of your stem cells turn off. Not because it's a bad joke, not because they're broken, not because they've disappeared, not because they're damaged. Just that is part of the natural function of aging. That's it. Now let's move forward in your timeline and get to 60 years of age. When you're 60, about 90% of your stem cells turn off. So now with the remaining 10% of those stem cells that you have, it has to do the job of what used to be the job of 100% of your stem cells, but you only have 10% left. And so that's why when you see people who are in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, you start to see the increase in different type of chronic inflammatory conditions. You know, somebody who is 38 years old, now it's been 2 decades since they've been out of high school. Maybe they had a high school injury, maybe playing tennis or playing football. Maybe they either had, a rotator cuff or they had a knee injury. And maybe they did or didn't have surgery when they were in high school. Maybe they didn't need it at that time. Doesn't really matter. Point is that now 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later, because you have less stem cells, you have less of that rapid repair. Now that old rotator cuff is starting to give you problems, might be giving you arthritis. Maybe it's just painful where you can't raise. I've had plenty of people that can't raise.
I like that. Go back. I like that.
I'm sorry. Did you say something, Steve?
Oh, sorry. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to put you on mute just while I'm talking, but you can unmute yourself
Okay.
if there's a comment or a question that you might have. Okay. So it could be a rotator cuff. It could be an elbow. It could be a hip. It could be a knee. It could be pretty much anything. Or maybe you're fortunate where you didn't have any kind of injury when you were young. Like in my case, I didn't have any injuries, but maybe you have something else. Maybe all of a sudden you're having problems with your digestion. Maybe you have digestive issues, whatever the case might be. The point is that you have less stem cells to do this rapid repair. So at 60 years of age, like I said, you only have 10% or less of your stem cells. When you apply a stem cell activation patch like this patch, you apply this on your skin at the moment that your skin comes in contact with this crystal lattice. 1/3 of your previously dormant stem cells, boom, they turn back on. You can think of like 33%. You have 100% when you're born, and now you have, let's say, 10% left. Now 33% of these little floodlights, boom, they're on. Because make no mistakes, your stem cells have packets of light information, and it sends that information to wherever you need it in the body. So your body, I always like to give equivalency because most people don't think about stem cells on a regular basis on a day-to-day, especially the days that end in Y. Like for me, I talk about them every day, but most of you don't. And so what's the equivalency? Your stem cells are to you the equivalent of, let's say, a printer ink cartridge. And so before we move on to that, I want you to think about your body is your temporary housing unit, much like the house that you're in right now as you're watching this video and this broadcast. And so your physical body is the temporary housing unit that houses, quite literally, the personality, the life, the ego, the individual that your parents at birth gave you whatever your name is. In Donna's case, her parents named her Donna. For Carol, they named her Carol. For me, they decided to name me after my grandmother, so I'm named Lillian. And you, whatever your name might be, Steve and Sarah, and so on and so forth. So when you build a home, you don't start building a home with the roof. You don't start with the walls. You always start with the foundation, right? And the same thing is true. Your stem cells, not only are they pluripotent, but they understand what is most important to be repaired inside your body based on what it takes to keep you alive. Because if you broke a toenail and you have some kind of issue going on in your heart, they know to get a new cell to the heart before they send it to your toenail, because you can live without a toenail, but you can't live without a heart. So let's talk about the foundational patches. And we're going to first talk about the mother stem cell activation patch, okay? And we already talked about how 50% of these turn off by the time you're 30 and 90 to 100 turn off by the time you're 60. So before we go on, what are these stem cell activation patches? And let's talk about how the stem cell activation patches, which are also known as photobiomodulation patches. Photobiomodulation. My goodness, what a huge word. Photo means light, bio is biological. Modulation simply means movement, that it modulates, that it moves around. So this is wearable light technology. And the way the patches work is it uses your own body's infrared light, because our bodies are made up of infrared light. We have an accumulation of trillions of electrons and electrolytes that flow through our bloodstream and through our tissue. Electrons and electrolytes, those are packets of electricity inside of our body. So what light in the light spectrum is it? It's actually infrared light, much like the sun. The sun is about 42, 43% infrared light. Our bodies are infrared light. And in fact, if I were to take night vision goggles and I were to look at you at night through night vision goggles, I would see you glowing in the dark with infrared light. That 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit, which when we take our temperature, most people are 98.6, some of us run a little hotter, 98.7, give or take a little, but that is evidence of that infrared light that's in your body. So that light, your body is the battery that operates this stem cell activation patch. Okay, so when your infrared light makes contact with this crystal lattice, and we'll talk about what this crystal lattice is made up of, how that technology works, that infrared light bounces off of this crystal lattice and it reflects back into your body up to 4 inches deep into your body. So here's a picture of evidence of the electricity and of the light that you have in your body, and even electrical currents that are coming out of your fingers, This happens all the time. You're not aware of it. On a side note, for those of you who might be aware and realize and recognize the fact that part of why not just remote healing, but healing where you use your hands is so powerful, it's because we emit light, we emit electricity, infrared through our hands. In fact, our eyes and our hands take up the largest percentage of real estate in the human brain. So if you look at a diamond crystal, you're probably going, why is she talking about diamond crystals now? Give me 2 seconds and you'll learn why I'm talking about diamond crystals. So when you take a flashlight and you shine it on a diamond crystal, you will notice that the light reflects back to you the prism of all the different beautiful colors from that diamond crystal. Diamond crystals are organic. They're just simply a lump of coal or charcoal that was put under an extreme amount of pressure for a certain period of time that converted it into this diamond crystal. So our stem cell activation patches, if you take a look, I've got here 5 of them connected. We'll explain why we've got 5 of these connected. But if you look at the crystal lattice itself, I'm going to hold it up to the camera. You see that little crystal lattice? It's white. You can't even see the individual crystals because they're so they're so tiny. That's why we call it organic nanotechnology, because the crystals are organic crystals. Like this diamond crystal is organic. They're organic sugar crystals, salt crystals, hydrogen, oxygen, water, and a proprietary blend of organic amino acids. And these crystals are arranged in a very unique and specific geometrical pattern. And then with a special machine, they are set to a specific frequency. And that each stem cell activation patch that we have 12 of them. Each one has a different geometrical pattern and a different frequency that it is set to, so that the moment you put it on your skin, your body's infrared light bounces back, just like the reflection of these diamonds are reflecting back to your eyes. Here, it's reflecting back into your body. So your body is the battery that fuels this crystal lattice on the stem cell activation patch up to 4 inches deep. It's really quite brilliant. And our scientist, David Schmidt, who is the inventor of these patches, 23 years ago, he was working for the department. Actually, he was contracted by the Department of Defense. He had invented quite a few other things for the Department of Defense, at which time, because of his success of inventing all these really useful things for them, they approached him and said, listen, David, could you create something that will increase the energy of our Navy SEALs? Because right now, our Navy SEALs, we give them amphetamines, uppers, and energy drinks to boost their energy, which works. However, the problem is that when the effects wear out, then they crash, and it's very hard on their body. And so David, being a man of prayer and meditation, and David's been inventing things since he was a child. So he, as he usually does to this very day, every time you hear him speak, he will tell you that he is a man of, he starts his day with prayer and meditation. And in meditation, he had this divine download where he had this packet information that told him exactly how to increase the energy of the Navy SEALs by creating a stem cell activation patch. He immediately went to his lab, went to test it, and it worked. And so 23 years ago, the Department of Defense started giving the Black Ops Navy SEALs these stem cell activation patches called Energy Enhancer to increase the energy of those Navy SEALs. And in fact, what's fascinating is that in addition to increasing energy, it increases heart rate variability, and it also regulates your lymphatic system. Fantastic patch. So let's talk about, we're going to pass over this stuff having to do with photobiomodulation. We're going to talk a little bit about how, before we move on to the mother stem cell activation patch, how it is so important. One of the foundations, the bedrocks, if you will, of your health and well-being. And this is so interesting because animals always make sure that they get their adequate amount of water. That's the only thing they need to drink, no matter what. I'm sure many of you have dogs. And for those of you who have had dogs, if they run out of water in their water bowl, they'll just go to the toilet bowl, and they'll even flip the lid open to get water from the toilet bowl because they know that they do not allow themselves to get dehydrated. They instinctively know the moment they need water, they go ahead and they seek it, and they keep themselves hydrated 24/7. And so for humans, part of the bedrock of your well-being is to be well hydrated and not to allow yourself to become dehydrated or unhydrated. Because when you are dehydrated or unhydrated, what happens is the proteins inside your body, they actually fold and then they don't function properly. And when that happens, then you have the beginning of whatever type of condition, whatever kind of disease and inflammation and so forth. So it's very important to drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water. And so that being said, it's also good to know that, babies are about 82% water. 60-year-olds on up are about 55% water. The other thing to know about water is that your DNA is made up of 92% water. Think about that. Your DNA is the primary structure of your DNA is water. That's the structure that's holding up all of that information, including your telomeres, is water. So if you are dehydrated or unhydrated, now you are putting a compromise on your DNA and your entire body. So I can't emphasize enough. We will talk about a couple more times about drinking 50% your fluid weight in ounces of water. So what does that look like? If you're 110 pounds like Carol, that means you drink 55 ounces of water a day from the time you get up in the morning until you go to sleep. You don't have to drink it all at once. In fact, it's not advisable to drink it all at once. It's best to drink it throughout the day so you keep your body hydrated as long as you're awake from the time you get up until right before you go to sleep. You drink your last bit of water, finish that up, refill your water bottle, hydro flask, your glass water bottles, your pitcher, what have you. That's measured out so you make sure that you drink at least 50% your weight in ounces of water. If you're a 200-pound man, you're going to drink 100 ounces of water, and so on and so forth. So let's talk about the mother stem cell activation patch now. Mother stem cell activation patch is this one here, and this activates your stem cells by your own body's infrared light, as we discussed before. The moment this patch touches your skin, 1/3 of your previously dormant stem cells are now inside your body. If you have an issue with your heart, it's going to go straight to your heart. Go, okay, we got to prioritize that first. Whatever's in the liver, whatever's in the brain, and then the rest of the body. Okay, it's like a little remodeling crew that you've got going on there that's happening. It's like at a quantum level. It's exponentially faster than prior to putting the patch. At contact, you have GHKCU that is activated. GHKCU is copper peptide in the blood, which also activates this P63 protein. Immediately, this repairs cellular damage, restores collagen, rebuilds tissue. It reduces fine lines and wrinkles. It's going to increase your energy, increase sexual libido, increase antioxidants, anti-aging, anti-inflammation. If you have pain, you'll experience pain relief, 50 to 100% pain relief within 3 to 4 minutes of applying the patch. You'll have improved hair growth and improved sleep. And we actually have a Veritas Concilium, which is like, Veritas means true, Concilium is a plan of action. So we have a true plan of action, which is like a protocol, but not a protocol, using traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points to actually magnify the effects of these patches on the body. So let's go on here and let me share with you Dr. Harmon. Here's Dr. Harmon. And Dr. Harmon specializes in the brain as well. And when he came to the patches 2 years ago, he had been diagnosed himself with a right bundle branch blockage of the heart. And much to his dismay, not one, not two, but 3 cardiologists told him, nothing we can do for you. It's inoperable. You're going to have this for the rest of your life. It can only get worse. We'll do our best to manage it. But you'll have to be on heart meds forever. And your length of life, obviously, because it's dealing with the heart, your longevity is, compromised. And so when he started on the patches, what he looked like. And as you look at this picture, you can clearly see he's got inflammation around his eyes. He's got more than fine lines and wrinkles. He's got, like a 111 across his forehead. He's got 3 vertical lines across his forehead, horizontal lines, wrinkles, of course, and he's got dark grooves and so forth around his face, including right up above his chin. So this picture was taken 14 months later. And over that period, not only did his right bundle branch blockage disappear, and it was evidenced by not 1, not 2, but 3 cardiologists, but over that time period, the fine lines and wrinkles, the quality of his skin texture improved. He basically was regenerated and revitalized, where he had age reversal in essence because of wearing the stem cell activation patches. And that's just evidence of also the remodeling that was going on inside of his body, where different things were repaired, including his right bundle branch blockage, where that basically then disappeared. So if you're interested in watching the testimonial about that, I can share that with you. You can go to my YouTube channel at damelillianwalker.com, and you'll see the testimonial of Dr. John's right bundle branch blockage. So the one thing to also be aware of is, oh, by the way, that your fibroblasts begin to decline at 25 years of age in their production of collagen. And as we mentioned, the stem cell activation patch increases your production of collagen, and collagen is the #1 building block protein of the body. So the next 2 people we have here is Scott and Patrick, and these 2 gentlemen wore the patches and saw a significant increase in their hair growth. So here we have, you could see how he has definitely a much better, his hairline isn't so receded far back, it's definitely coming down, and thicker, darker hair. The same thing with this gentleman. So both Patrick and Scott has a lot more hair, it's more filled in. And so you have some hair growth. And I also experienced hair growth, because my story is that in 2017, I was hit by an Orange County Transit Authority bus. I was hit from behind. And so my point of impact was back here. So that's where I had my bald spot when I started on the patches. And 4 months, just 4 months after being on the patches, I noticed that I had about 3 to 4 inches of hair growth. I was curling my hair with a flat iron, and then I had a piece of hair that, instead of it being long like the rest of my hair in the back, it was this short, and it was also a slightly different texture. And I was like, why would I have short? And then I realized in that moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's hair growing back there. And for the previous 5 years, that was bald, just like your heel of your foot. Not a hair follicle or anything. Nothing I had tried had gotten my hair to grow back there. So thank goodness it's about 70% filled in now. And now I have about 7, 8, or 9 inches of hair growth there. So your stem cells are to your body what your ink printer cartridges are to your printer that you use to make color and black and white copies. And if you notice, when you have 100% of your ink with 100% brand new ink cartridge, you can barely tell the color copy from the original, or the black and white copy to the original. But when you've used up 90% of the ink in that cartridge, now the color copy is a very faded version of the original, and so is the black and white copy. In fact, that black and white copy becomes a gray and white copy, and in some instances, if there's very little ink left, it could be a pink and white copy. So let's talk next about the daughter stem cell activation patch. So X39 is the mother. The next one, we're talking about the Fantastic 5 today. So now your mother stem cell activation patch is like your foundation, right? And the daughter stem cell activation patch is going to be, you can think of it as your bearing wall. Now, this stem cell activation patch does something very different than the mother stem cell activation patch. This patch protects you against radiation poisoning relief. It's going to activate AHKCU copper peptide in your bloodstream and in your tissue. It's going to increase lean muscle mass, bone density. It's going to increase your energy focus and your cardiovascular function. It's going to increase your protection from electromagnetic frequencies like 5G, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi radiation, routers, modems, cell phone screens, desktops, iPads, Kindles, you name it. LED lights in your environment. Many people are not aware that these devices, including anything that emits blue light, including LED lights, including halogen fluorescent lights, that your body's exposure, your eyes and your skin being exposed to blue light actually increases insulin resistance and increases inflammation in the body, because one of the things that blue light does is it increases what we call mitochondrial dysregulation. You're like, mitochondrial dysregulation, what is that? So if you look at a cell, inside a cell, you have the nucleus, and in the plasma of the cell, you have this little organelle, a tiny organ called a mitochondria. And that mitochondria is responsible for your energy production in your body. But that gets dysregulated at a cellular level when you're exposed to blue light from a desktop, laptop, iPad, notebook, cell phone, etc. So this patch is actually going to protect you against that. Radiation poisoning relief. Radiation poisoning relief, any radioactive materials in your water, anything that you're eating, anything in your environment, you'll be protected from that. Also, x-rays from your dentist's office, doctor's office, MRI, PET scans, etc. You'll have this increased protection. This patch, because it uses your belly fat as the primary source of energy, as opposed to whatever you've eaten from your previous meal, it's going to result in a reduction in belly fat if you have belly fat. So some people on our patches, they do lose weight. If you're overweight, being overweight and underweight is the same problem. You have something in your body that's out of balance, which is why you've lost weight or why you've gained weight. And so it's sometimes hard to bring that back into balance, into homeostasis. The patches will bring you into homeostasis. So for Carol and myself, we were underweight. We had lost unexpected weight. We didn't try to lose weight. Just the same problem as someone gaining weight, didn't try to gain it, and they did. So if that's out of balance, the patches, because they work systemically, taking care of systems of the body, it will bring that back into balance. This patch, because it increases your bone density, if you have osteoporosis, your osteoporosis, well, it'll help the osteoporosis because it'll disappear. Osteoporosis is not a sickness. It's not an illness. It's not a malady. It's a condition. A condition is a state of being. Osteoporosis, if you break it down, osteo means bone, porosis means porous. So it's a descriptor letting you know that your bone is porous. So as your bone density increases, your bone porosity disappears. So let's talk next about here's my friend Kathy. She lives in Nevada. She's a professional skydiver for Fortune companies, where they do special formations for special events. She's out in the sun every single day. She's now 64 years old, but she was 63 in January of 2022 when she started. She got started on the patches not for age reversal, although that is inevitable when you take the stem cell activation patches, but she got on them because she had horrible autoimmune disorder as a result of 3 breast implants that had leaked silicone into her body and created so much pain, so much havoc in her body. So she started on the patches in January, and we told her, take pictures every 30 days so that you can document your progress month by month. Luckily, she did. January. This is what her picture looked like in January. And you can see that she's got a significant number of wrinkles on her chest and her neck. Fast forward to March, much less wrinkles. June, hardly, barely tiny bits that you can tell here. And in July, no wrinkles whatsoever. And this was her picture, which she finally gave into giving to me, because at first she would not, she put these pictures on Facebook, but she wouldn't do a profile picture. So I told her, I'm like, listen, I'm posting this. I'm going to share this to my Facebook wall. And I go, my friends know that I'm not going to put something bogus or something that's photoshopped on here, but they're going to share it with a friend who's going to share it with a friend. Those people are going to think, oh, that was photoshopped, because that's what I would think. I go, really, we need your profile picture. And I said, would you please also come onto my YouTube so that I can do a Zoom with you, just like we're talking right now. And people will see the real you, and they'll see that, oh my gosh, you actually look like this. You actually have this incredible regeneration that's taken place. And I go, you're beautiful. You're like, you look like you're 35, 40. You don't look like you're in your 60s. So she agreed to the Zoom. So she agreed to the Zoom, and that went fantastic. We showed these pictures. And it was after the Zoom that she said, okay, I'm willing to share my profile picture now. So now that's why I'm able to put these all together. And, but we have that Zoom where, you know, in a Zoom, just like right now, I can't do anything to alter my look. I can't make my skin look better, or worse for that matter. I can't change my hair color or anything like that. So it's evidence of the incredible restoration that she experienced just 7 months after being on the patches. And it's incredible. This next person is the first person that I patched, who Barry is a friend of mine in Toronto, Canada. Hello, Dr. Joe, advanced student. And Barry was suffering really bad long haulers COVID, would wake up every day with a headache and nausea, had horrible, horrible insomnia, had not slept well in 18 months. Nothing he tried was working. He had low stamina. He was just feeling awful. So we started him on the patches on June 23rd of last summer, just last summer, June 23rd. And we applied the patches, the Fantastic Five, on him. And the next afternoon at 3 o'clock, he sent me this text message. So he said, hey, Lillian, just a note. I don't know if it's a placebo or the stem cell patch activation patches work that quick or what, but I had really good sleep, a little better sleep than other nights. I fell asleep quicker. Today, I'm just on a high. I'm ecstatic, and Gwen sees that in me, and I feel really, really good physically. When I woke this morning, no headache, no nausea, just been a phenomenal day. So thank you, and I'll update you as long as we go along. Hope all is well with you. Thanks. Bye. So since then, I've patched so many people who tested positive for COVID, for rhinovirus, adenovirus, other type of respiratory tract infections, sinus infections, bronchitis, bronchiolitis, and every combination thereof. And every single one of them have, within 24 hours, had a significant or drastic improvement in their state of being, including one gentleman, a friend of mine, Al, who last August, and I can share, that's also on my YouTube channel, which you can get at damelillianwalker.com, or just go to YouTube and type in Love and Money Secrets TV, and you'll see the testimonial on flu, rhinovirus, 2 hours and 18 minutes. Just 2 hours and 18 minutes after I patched Al, 100% of his symptoms were gone. And prior to that, he had a high fever, body aches, chills, nausea, horrible, low stamina, had not been able to get out of bed that happened to be a Thursday. And from 8 o'clock p.m., which is when he applied the patches, to 10:18 p.m., he called me. He's like, you're not going to believe this. He goes, I have 0 symptoms. He goes, these patches are, quote, badass, end quote. And I was stunned because I never had anybody respond that quickly, or no one that I've patched has called me 2 hours and 18 minutes or 3 hours later telling me that all their symptoms were gone. But in his case, they were. So let's move on to the next patch. So we're talking about the Fantastic Five today. We talked about the mother, foundation, daughter. That's basically like your bearing wall. And these next 3 patches, glutathione, carnosine, and eon, are your master antioxidants. And these are, in essence, going to complete building your house, the next 3 walls, so to speak. So glutathione is a master antioxidant detoxifier. It's what detoxifies your body. It is an immune booster. And the moment you put the patch on your skin, it boosts your glutathione levels 300 to 600% within 24 hours. It also boosts your antivirals and is a radioprotector against DNA damage. I'm going to share real briefly with you this research paper quote from a particular research paper called Nanoscale Glutathione Patches Improve Organ Function. And so pay close attention to whatever the organs are here that are mentioned, because if you have an issue with any of these organs, this would suggest that you may benefit from the increase of the state of that particular organ or the collection of all these organs that you have in your body. So the glutathione patches worn 12 hours daily over a period of 4 weeks produced a highly significant improvement in physiologic functional status of pancreas, liver, gallbladder, intestines, left and right adrenals, hypothalamus, and pituitary gland, and a very significant improvement in pancreas with a statistical power of at least 72%. So stated differently, all organs achieve significant cellular, physiologic functional status improvement compared to baseline with a statistical power of at least 91%. Pretty impressive. That's just our glutathione patch. Next patch, carnosine. Carnosine, kind of like carne asada tacos. The root word for carnosine is carne, which means flesh. This master antioxidant supports and improves your cardiovascular system, all things related to heart and muscle. It improves healthy brain function, memory, focus, and brain processing time. So, little pause button here. Your cardiovascular system, all things related to your heart. Your heart is the primary pump of the body. We could argue that it's probably the most important organ of the body. That is why in the first 6 to 8 weeks from conception to 6 to 8 weeks, it's the first thing that we can evidence through an ultrasound or a Doppler sonar that we palpate over a mother's womb. And you can evidence the sound of the baby's heartbeat at 6 to 8 weeks. We can actually hear it. And in an ultrasound, we can actually see the heart beating prior to the brain even being formed. That's how important the heart is. So your heart is the pump of the body. It circulates your blood. Your blood is the carrier of the electrolytes that are packets of information that you've derived really from food that you've chewed, broken it down through your digestive system. And then those electrolytes, which are packets of information, get distributed through your blood to all the different parts of the body, including going first to the brain, and then it goes and gets sent out everywhere else. Your heart is a pump, kind of like a plumbing unit. So the pump and the pipes have to be clear, no occlusions, and the electrical aspect of the pump so that it's beating regularly. And it has the ability to, when you run, exercise yourself, it can pump faster. When you rest, it can pump slower. That has to do with heart rate variability. So the electrical side of the heart, as well as the pumping units, have to be in good shape. If that's in good shape, then you have good brain function. If you have a compromise in either the electrical or the pumping, because let's say you have cholesterol plaque, fat buildup inside of the arterial walls, then your brain function, you're going to have foggy brain, stuck brain, your brain function is going to be compromised. So this patch takes care of that. Because it takes care of all things related to your heart, muscle, and your cardiovascular system, your brain function, memory, focus, and brain processing time, this increases your strength, your stamina, and endurance. And if you have any wounds in your body, it's going to help aid wound repair in your body. So that's the carnosine patch. Very, very powerful patch. Again, second time reminder, drink 50% of your weight in fluid ounces of water to make sure that as soon as your stem cells that you have right now, even before putting the patches on, your stem cells will create a new cell to replace whatever damaged cell in your body. And it's not going to get stuck in quicksand, because if you're dehydrated, that's what happens. It'll create it and it's going to get stuck in your bloodstream. It's going to stack up with a bunch of other cells, can't get to where it needs to go. But as soon as you drink water and you're hydrated, now you got that slippery electromagnetohighway called your bloodstream. And now it can transport your new cells to wherever it needs to go, to their destination point. Does that make sense? Okay. Next patch. This is your fifth patch of the Fantastic Five. I call these patches, this grouping, the Fantastic Five, because early on I realized and recognized that these take care of the primary systems of the body. So it's a powerful combination. It's no wonder that the company that makes these have them grouped so that the mother and the daughter stem cell activation patch are bundled. And then these three are bundled as well, because that takes care of the primary systems of the body. The Eon patch. It's hard to have a favorite patch, but I got to tell you, I love obviously the mother and the daughter stem cell activation patch. Glutathione, it's kept me healthy. I patch people testing positive for all sorts of things. I never get anything. The Eon patch, though, big time attention on this patch because it's the master anti-inflammatory patch. Super important because everyone has inflammation to the body, some less, some more, but everybody has some degree of inflammation. This is a master anti-inflammatory. We also call it the anti-stress, also known as the happy patch. This patch raises anti-neoplastins, which I'll tell you what that is in a moment. It also raises DHEA, which is the fountain of youth hormone, not to be confused with DHA. DHA, very, very powerful also in the body, but it is different. DHA is different from DHEA. I encourage you after this call to get on Google and look up what the difference is between DHEA and DHA. But this creates DHEA, which is the fountain of youth hormone. And one of my favorite things about this patch, separate from the anti-inflammatory response that it creates in the body, is that it does brain balancing. That's huge for any of us, no matter what. Getting your brain balanced where the left and your right brain hemisphere now starts to get into balance, which will create a calming effect in the body. And now, if you've had any fight, or like heaven knows that when I got hit by a bus, my cortisol level soared through the sky. I had a fight or flight response. Oh my gosh, I got hit by a bus and went flying, landed on the sidewalk over my bike. Miserable situation. You don't have to have that type of situation to raise your cortisol levels, but surely if you are in an environment at home or at work or elsewhere where your adrenals are being put to work because you have struggle, you have demands on you, you have deadlines, you have to push against, you have a stressful situation, your adrenals produce cortisol to help you respond, so you have the energy to respond for that demand on you. So this patch is going to reduce your cortisol levels, and it's going to reduce your C-reactive proteins, which is what happens when you have that fight or flight response. C-reactive proteins build up in your blood. So this is going to reduce cortisol, also reduce your C-reactive proteins. It's going to give you this calming effect because it's balancing your left and your right brain hemisphere that previously was out of balance. You feel happy. It has a calming effect. And people oftentimes in the first week, especially I see the larger percentage of people on day 21 and that third week, where they're like, wow, I'm noticing, not only am I noticing, but people around me are noticing. Either their husband or their wife or their coworkers are like, you're really happy. They're like, yeah, I am happy. Can you tell? And they're like, yeah, we can tell something's different. Like, what are you doing different? And of course, they share that it's the stem cell activation patches, but they legitimately feel happier. And that's because you have this brain balancing effect that's taking a place, which is bringing down your cortisol and your C-reactive proteins, and you actually feel good. It actually is an improvement in your state of well-being. The research papers that I read on this patch also showed that people's awareness and consciousness is expanded. I'm glad that they actually measured that, because so many people I've had come back and they're like, I noticed that I'm not so tunnel vision. I'm more aware, I have a greater awareness of my surrounding. My consciousness seems to be expanded. I seem to see more than I saw before. A lot of people will report everything. Some people didn't know they had brain fog. And 24 hours after wearing the patches, they're like, oh my gosh, everything is brighter, clearer. And their perception is increased. And a lot of them that were not dreaming before begin to dream, or others begin to have more vibrant, more vivid dreams. And we do have a Veritas Consilium, a regimen that you can do to increase the vibrancy and your recollection so that you remember your dreams when you wake up, which I started doing in my 4th month. And I just took my carnosine patch, and instead of wearing it during the day, I wear it at night and put it on my right temple. And then we have a patch to activate your pineal gland, which I wear on my 3rd eye before I go to sleep at night. So I wear those 12 hours from before I go to bed until I get up in the morning. Okay, so that's that. Now let me share with you what actinoplastins are. This is the 5th patch, so we're going to wrap this up and we're going to open this up for questions. But the thing to know is that actinoplastins, actually I mispronounced it, antineoplastins. Antineoplastins are peptides that are found in the urine and blood of healthy people. The research studies show that they might stimulate the immune system, and these peptides might also kill certain cancer cells or prevent them from growing. They're used for various cancers, high cholesterol, brain swelling due to any kind of infection, meningitis, encephalitis, HIV, AIDS, Parkinson's disease, any other neurological, any myriad of conditions. In a clinical setting, you can get actinoplastins from blood. Actually, you get it from blood donors. You get it from a blood bank. Your doctor will order in a hospital setting or in a clinical setting. They'll order IVIG, which is intravenous immunoglobulin therapy. And that's because of these actinioplastins. If you are battling some of these conditions that I mentioned before, it keeps the cancer cells from proliferating and growing. And so they can slow down or stop sometimes these conditions, or like I said, people who have had brain swelling or infections due to any of these conditions. So I'm going to wrap this up here now. I want to make sure that I answer your questions. If you want to unmute yourself and ask me whatever questions you might have. And while you're unmuting yourselves, I wanted to let you know that you can get access to all the clinical studies and watch the 2-minute and the 3-minute video at startx39now.com. I'm going to post it in the chat so that you guys have that. Startx39now.com. And the YouTube channel is Love and Money Secrets TV, also found at URL, which is my name. Okay. And if you want to refer anyone to the hotline to get the bullet points, always.
Is that on the website of
Which one?
stem cells?
The startx39now.com. No, the startx39 now is purely an educational site. There's nothing for you to buy. There's really no one for you to interact with. It's like, think of it as your online filing cabinet where it has stored the 2-minute, the 3-minute, the 18-minute video. There's a grouping of testimonials from regular individuals as well as doctors. And then there's the clinical research studies and then the patents that are there. And then my hotline. So I always tell people, get back to the person who referred to you. Like Carol has had people who've contacted me through the hotline. They let me know that Carol was the person who referred her, because Carol is a brand partner and she will get a product introduction bonus for that. And the company, no matter whether you come on the retail or the wholesale side, they're very generous in that regard. They make sure that they, instead of spending marketing dollars and ads on TV, that's how they use their dollars instead. So here, this number is basically you can text to this number that's here on my graphic. You'll see here the 949-478-2221. It's an unmonitored hotline. I always respond to everyone who calls, and when you call, it's sent to me in text form. So you can text or you can just leave a verbal message. Either way, I get it by text. And it's just another way to make sure that you have access to getting the information. And then if you request the bullet points, we'll send you the bullet points, etc. Okay. What questions might you have? We have about 5 more minutes and then I gotta go.
Should I call you at some point here, but either probably not at night. I'm not a night person.
So we can talk to you right after we get this call. I can call you.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. So if no one else, Steve and Sarah and Carol don't have any other questions, I will let you guys all go. We will be posting this on YouTube to share this with others. You'll see it as the most recently uploaded video, and that way you can share this with others that you think might want to learn about this life-saving technology. Okay?
Thank you so much. It's wonderful.
Yes, that sounds good. It was a really good talk.
Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you soon again. And Donna, I will call you as soon as we hang up here, okay?
Okay, super.
Okay, take care, my friends and gems. Ciao for now.
Bye.
Bye.